Hey everybody, Sterling R. Jackson. Today I'm going to talk about how mixed voice works on a physical level, something I don't hear many vocal teachers talking about, and I've never heard anybody talk about actually. So if you want to learn a little bit more about it, join me.
Don't even look at him, don't open the dialogue, 'cause he'll take a part of you.
All right, we'll get this out of the way first. Yes, I know my hair is ridiculous and unruly and getting goofier by the day, but it just is what it is, okay? We're going to have to deal with it together, and we're going to get through this. Mixed voice, this weirdly elusive thing that so many people want to learn about. It feels like to most people that it's going to unlock this, this next tier, and it's going to be this next thing, and then I'll be able to hit notes with power that are outside of my range, and it could be that, but it's going to take some time and it's going to take some effort. So one of the things that I've never heard anybody break down or talk about are the logistics of how it's actually working or what's actually happening on a physical level. And sometimes when I get into these things, people really appreciate my lessons more because people give you sounds, they give you methods of trying to find it, which I'm going to do at the end of this video. But that's kind of it. They don't tell you on a very physical level what is happening, what to look out for, what's bad, what's good, it's here, it's not here, all that kind of stuff. And I'm a highly sensitive person on various spectrums, so I break down information in different ways than maybe some other people, and I feel things on a very heightened sensitivity level that a lot of people don't feel. So using that to my benefit, I'm able to teach more people about some of these things, in a different way. So without further ado, pants, when we're talking about mixed voice, we're talking, of course, about the blending of, or mixed voice, I don't really even know what it is, whatever. Mixed voice between chest and head. We're talking about finding some kind of concrete middle ground to blend chest and head together. There's so many different things I'm going to reference into this lesson. There's so many things I'm going to say that are going to go over people's heads. My hope is that I will say enough things, and sometimes in different ways, in various ways, that some of it will stick with you. If not now, it might stick with you later on when you're practicing and trying to find things. I remember sometime, a long time ago, I was trying to find out more information about distortional singing. And somebody was like, oh yeah, I'm pushing my voice back. Every time we're doing distortion, I'm pushing my voice totally back. And then, I practiced for months. I'm like, what in the fuck does that mean? And then I finally find it, and I'm like, oh, that person's absolutely right. Everything's going backwards. My placement's going backwards. Every time I'm distorting or screaming, I'm pushing everything back as far as I can. So that might already be like, what the fuck? But keep that in mind as we move through this. So once again, mixed voice is blending chest and head together. The main important thing that I think that you need to take away from this lesson, or other than just the information, when people say they have a course that's going to give you all you need in mix or whatever, the main thing that you need to find is a sound that is allowing you to move between chest and head. It can be quiet, and it should be quieter. It should not be loud, and it's keeping your chords together. So it should not be some amalgamated version of jumping from chest to head really fast and trying to trick yourself, or jumping into some version of falsetto where your chords are broken apart. If you have some kind of a chord closure openness where you're going, is that mix? Of course not. Your vocal cords are broken apart. Listen for the your vocal cords are not together. So we're maintaining chord closure. We're finding a sound out of all the different methods and crap that we're gonna, vocal coaches are throwing at you. You're trying to find your sound, or a sound that works for you, that's allowing you to glide up and down, in some way, shape, or form with chord closure. Now, it's not going to be loud, and it's not going to feel or be experienced probably the way that you think it's going to be. And therein lies one of the biggest struggles that you're going to experience with this, is that it might be musculature that you've never used in your voice before. For me, it was. And once again, that comes from a person that's made a lot of crazy, weird voices and done a lot of strange things with my voice growing up. And when I finally found this, it did not feel anything like what I thought it was going to feel like. So speaking in terms of utilizing musculature that you've never used before, when we speak, when we do a head voice, when we do most of the things that we know or are comfortable with or comfortable thinking about with the voice, we're going to experience a version of compression lightly or heavily right here. What's happening is that our muscles in our neck are bringing our vocal cords together. Our vocal folds are positioned like this, right near the larynx. And right behind that, we're pushing in some way, shape, or form to keep those vocal cords together, to bring them together. Maintain chord closure. Most of the things that we experience as singers come from some version of that. And if you pay attention to your voice as you go higher in your range, or you try to get closer to your bridge, passaggio, whatever you want to say, we're going to experience tension probably there. What's happening in mixed voice is that an entire kind of other set of musculature is engaging and balancing out that tension. So what is that? Where is that? It exists higher up. We have, we're going to talk about it like circles. We have a circle down here that's capable of opening and closing to certain varying compression level degrees. Compression just means to make smaller, compress. So I have my throat down here, and there's a circle there that can go like that, right? Above that, I have, you know, some false chords and different things, but for the most part, they're kind of used so that I don't choke and die, etc., etc. Above that, I have what's known as the soft palate. We have a hard palate here, which is the hard palate. It's hard. And then we go back and we have the soft palate, which can rise. It's malleable. It moves around, but there's also an opening there. That opening is where we start to get into what mixed voice is, or what's happening on a logistical, physical, level. That opening, that other circle, when utilized correctly, can balance pressure in the vocal cords and stuff. So in a sense, what's happening is that we're recognizing that we have this second mechanism, once we find it, that can help us utilize and maintain pressure and tension. Because everything in singing is tension and release, tension and release. Actually, everything you experience in the entire world and life is tension and release, tension and release. Being hungry, sleeping, everything is a version of tension and release. Anyway, singing is a balancing act of tension and release. You're always going to be either moving this way or this way, this way or this way. Even when we're talking about distortion and pushing the voice backwards, that's a version of tension and release. Pushing the voice backwards so that it doesn't fall out of the face. So, when we talk about the soft palate, once again, we're talking about having an opening there, which is allowing us to either push tension and unleash some of that tension up into our nasal cavity, up into head voice, or not. Okay? You starting to see how this connects? So if we build tension from here as we get higher, that tension and our larynx and our vocal cords start to build like this, we're starting to build tension like this and it starts to flatten out. That means that we're not allowing that soft palate to engage in a certain way that's allowing tension to be released up into the head voice, up into this nasal cavity. So we practice some of these different techniques to start to use these muscles and see how we can use these muscles to engage a different part of our voice, which is going to, once again, it's going to help with that tension and release. Once again, on a physical level, what's happening when we find mixed voice, or when we're kind of getting into the level of finding it, is that that soft palate is starting to do something, and it's starting to open itself up so that we can actually move our resonance like a thermometer up into this nasal cavity. If your voice does not move up there, every step of the way is going to be harder and harder because tension is going to be building up against the hard palate or falling out of the face. These little things I keep doing are very, very integral to your success in this idea, this field, this singing, all this shit. So we got this placement that I'm talking about. When we are mixing, we're pulling everything upwards. We're allowing our sound to go upwards. We're also relaxing enough so that the sound can go where it needs to go and it's not going like this and giving you the tense neck thing. So keep those things in mind. I'm going to show you this really quick just because all this is off the cuff, of course. I'm just telling you what I know about it and trying to be as natural as I can because I can't write scripts about this stuff and nobody would care. My piano needs to turn on. So if we know that the voice is like a thermometer in the body, and I go from here to here, I need to let that resonance move. I just told you that if I kind of get stuck in the throat, if it starts to build a bunch of tension here, we can kind of recognize that the elevator of this resonance has gotten stuck somewhere. We're not allowing it to move. Feels terrible, sounds terrible. And we had a very prominent break there where where my voice typically breaks. If I can get out of the way of that and keep positioning my voice upwards, or my placement, I want to move backwards so that it goes upwards, I have to go through a nasal space as well. We know that the voice is going to be moving towards a head voice quality, right? Ooh, it's going to end up at some point in a version of right? Because we're moving there in the elevator. We cannot do anything about this. At some point, we will be taking on more of a head voice quality because the fucking elevator is moving. You got. Also, one of the integral parts of this is that the voice is going to move through here as well. It's moving up into the nasal cavity, so that's one of the catalysts of making this work or understanding is that your voice will become more nasal as well. We don't just go from we don't go from chest voice to Mickey Mouse. We go through a version of here too. So if I go and everything keeps getting louder, it's never gonna work. I need to back off. So instead of going like this with the voice where everything gets louder and then breaks, we're gonna be going like this instead. It makes an hourglass shape. So we're starting in chest, we're going through our break and we're compressing through our break. That does not just mean make your throat tight and go like this or anything. That's not what I mean. But the voice is gonna go like this and then it's gonna come back out. If you actually get into whistle voice, the same thing would happen again, but I don't get into that. I'm not Mariah Carey, I don't care. If I was Mariah Carey, I probably wouldn't be sitting here making this video right now. So, instead, I'm gonna start placing my voice in my nose as much as I can. I'm going to recognize as I build tension here that that tension needs to be handed off. And almost literally might feel like handing it off to a second muscular group, modality, whatever weird thing you wanna say or however you wanna label it. I recognize that I'm building tension and then I need to go, I can't do this anymore, here you go, you can have this now, in the most Family Guy of ways. So when I go, can't do that much anymore, right there I'm already starting to mix. And if you listen closely, you can hear my voice actually moving behind my soft palate. So it's being quieted by my physical body. It's being quieted by the fact that it's literally moving behind my soft palate. So I'm allowing my voice to open up here and move behind there. So it's making a teardrop type shape. Now, as I get more comfortable with that, I can tend to open the vowel up and not have it sound so, kind of restricted or restrained. But that takes practice, and that takes knowing how to keep your vowels open and your throat open, etc., etc. Either way, I hope some of this is starting to make sense. I'm going to give you a couple quick random things here, and then as I always do, I'm going to go over to Patreon and try to extend this to give those lovely Patreon supporters or people that support me some more valuable information on how to find this and how to utilize this. So that was number one, making the voice. Some people might call that finding it in your mask, pushing the voice towards the mask. But keep in mind, if you're somebody that practices placement or you pay attention to where you're placing your voice, our placement, instead of going like this as we go higher, is going like this. It's moving backwards. We're allowing it up into that space. We're getting into this next space up here that's starting to control what's happening with the tension in our voice. So nasality was the first, and handing it off. I want you to hear this one more time, the difference between right and wrong. Building in the throat. I have trouble doing it completely wrong because I'm so trained in the other direction. Now, we can do that with sirens. You can do it like that, however you want to find it. The next one I'm going to show you is a similar kind of feeling, but it helps with a lot of my students. And remember, we're just trying to find one of these that works. One of them might be this with you, it might be something different. I don't really think that there's one method that somebody can be like, this has got to be mixed voice and you're going to have it in a week and everybody's going to love you. And you're going to be singing Don't Stop Believing at the karaoke bar. No, I don't think there's one of those for anybody. and I've been teaching for a long time, and this is something hard for people to find. But keep in mind all these different things. It's probably not going to sound the way you think it's going to sound. It's not going to be powerful at first. It's going to be smaller, and you're going to be like, oh man, I wanted to sing Man in the Box and sound badass, or whatever. It's not going to work that way. Here's one of my other favorites, O to oo. O is very chest voicey, oo is very head voicey, which means that if I sing ooh, ooh, it starts to pull tension in here, and it makes my voice want to go ooh up here. And head voice has a hooty quality to it. Hooty quality to it. So we're going to take the chest voicey one, and we're going to glide and slide into ooh, thereby transitioning and shedding some of the weight of chest voice, because that's part of this mixed voice thing too. How much weight are you able to bring up, or how much weight are you shedding to get there? The voice is going like this. We cannot bring the weight up. Yeah, I know if you heard Chris Cornell, he sounds like he's screaming or yelling and he's powerful all the time. That's not actually the case. There's other things happening, and he's gotten better at opening the vowel back up. But we're closing the vowel down. Make sense? Oh, everything goes vertically all the time. I've talked about this a bunch of times. Never sideways, never horizontal. Oh, so I'll give you some sirens like this. Oh, pay attention to keeping your body nice and relaxed, and pay attention to trying to feel where that resonance wants to go. We're not breaking into falsetto. We're going, oh. Do not try to trick yourself and do it really fast. Oh, oh. That happens all the time too. Oh, if that's the case, do it even slower. And do this over the course of days. You know, don't fucking torture yourself and do it for like 2 hours straight and wear your voice out. And once again, if these are muscles that you've never utilized before, you could very well be like, my voice hurts. What did I do wrong? Well, you know, it's kind of like being like, I'm going to do finger exercises today. And you've never done that before. And then you're like, my fucking hand hurts. Oh, 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 oh. Keep thinking about it like this, vertically. Oh, 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 oh. Okay, I'm going to do 2 quick things here. And still kind of keep explaining, filling your head with crazy things while we're doing this. People talk about the cat meow sound. If you go to some of the Axl Roses, Brian Johnson, AC/DC, a lot of 80s bands that sing in that higher kind of mixed range, and you start mimicking some of those sounds, you might come upon finding something that's kind of working. Remember, what you're looking for is some version of a sound that's allowing you to transition up and down, that's keeping the body more relaxed. It's happening here. Do you need support? Do you need to breathe correctly and stuff to do this? No. Should you learn those things and then apply them? Of course. But do you need them to do mixed voice? No. What you're hearing me do is not some version of a perfectly supported mixed note. It's not that. It's just making sounds. It's just making a sound. So your job is to find a sound that's allowing you to do that. So if you were to listen to those crazy people doing this stuff and make some of those weird sounds, I had a student recently that was referring to it as, I can make a scary goblin sound. And then he was starting to get in some of the levels of mix. It was outside of this range. He was doing something like that, and we're there. You can hear the difference. I've talked about this in videos too. Consider it almost like a rocking back and forth. But that's when I build tension down here. That's the thing I'm giving it over to. And then they gel together, so it's not night and day like that. But we're going to do the meow thing first. What meow does is it's a version of O to oo, similar to what I was saying. But we're going to keep thinking about it like a teardrop shape. Oh, meow, meow. But we're going to do it like this. We'll do it on fifths. Meow, 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 meow. You should feel that each time moving up into the head. Meow, meow. But you should also hear how pharyngeal, how nasal it is. Meow, meow. You hear that thing I'm talking about? That's part of that extra musculature that I was talking about. Meow, meow, meow. That one's a weirder one for me to do. There's another quick one. Let's think if we can do one more. This is one that I talked about in a video that got a lot more views, called the cry technique. When we cry into a nasal kind of sound, as we ascend in a scale, we start to compress in a mixed voice area, which is to say we're starting to engage this upper circular part of our voice and not the lower as much. But people have trouble with it. And a lot of people that I try this with get tense in weird ways. They're not crying. If you listen to opera and they're singing higher notes, there's a version of in there, which is to say they're crying on pitch. Look it up, it's a thing. If I add a cry sound to my voice as I get a higher in my register, it's gonna sound like this. Ma, ma, ah. You hear this happening already? Ah, ah. I have to shed the tension down here, and I have to give it over to that second space. The more cry I put in, the better it works. Now I'm almost completely utilizing that upper musculature and almost none of this. Think about that now regarding AC/DC. Out on the town looking for a woman gonna give me good love. Same thing. All right, I'm going to take this over to Patreon. I hope that helps. I hope it's not too convoluted and confusing and cryptic and weird, and then you're just like, what the fuck did that guy just say? I hope it helps. It's a long lesson. 21 minutes is a long lesson for YouTube, but thank you for joining me. I hope this stuff helps. Sorry my hair is bananas, but bananas are good for you. Potassium. Have a good day.